Hello guys, welcome back to another cigar talk. Right now I'm in the middle of a Romeo Julieta number 3. I bought this just as a single from a tobacconist here in Spain, and being in Spain is just a joy for a cigar enthusiast because not only do they have obviously a great selection of Cuban cigars, but they're just incredibly affordable over here. There's something about the taxes that is just making them a lot more affordable than they would be in the US. Obviously, they're not even legal in the US. But this is Romeo Julieta number 3. And I do think it's a shame that these cigars come in such beautiful metal tubes, so beautifully designed, but I really have no use for the tubes afterwards, and I just have to recycle them. I was trying to think of what I could fit in these, but really nothing comes to mind. So I came across this journaling prompt. I think it was from Chris Williamson, actually. And the journaling prompt was... make myself more comfortable on this rock here. No, the journaling prompt was, what would you do if you had to make your 80-year-old self miserable? And I think I've had a fairly negative view of old age, right? Now, like 60s, I know so many guys that are still living a great life and in good shape at that age. 70s, again, there's still plenty of people that seem to have more of a zest for life than guys in their 20s do, honestly. But when you get to 80, that to me starts conjuring up images of the armchair, daytime television, arthritis, I don't know. But I think when I go back and look at my family, I mean, my granddad spent the last 10 years of his life just sat in front of the TV watching pool, watching F1, watching golf, and didn't really enjoy those years of his life. I have a grandma as well. She's still with us, but she's 96 now. And, you know, she's doing well for 96, but, you know, let's be honest, if you're above ground when you're 96, that's doing well. And it's just sad to see your grandparents and your family age. And I was thinking about what would I do if I were trying to make my 80-year-old self miserable. And definitely the first thing that comes to mind is the health. You know, I would make myself overweight. I would make sure that I had some kind of preventable problem, like a heart problem or osteoporosis or diabetes. I'd also make sure that I had no mobility. So I was so inflexible that I couldn't get up, I couldn't stand around, I couldn't walk about. That would definitely make me very miserable as an 80-year-old. The next thing that would definitely make me very miserable would be to be lonely. It's so sad. There are so many elderly people today that they've lost their friends. They don't have family nearby. So if I wanted to make myself miserable at that age, I'd make sure that I'd, lost touch with all of my friends, not made friends with younger people, because obviously it's natural that people will pass away and we'll lose people, but you can have friends at any age, and that's one thing I would do. I'd also make sure that I had no family nearby, or maybe no family at all, or bad relationships with my family, because obviously an estranged family is almost the same as having no family. So if I wanted to make myself miserable, that's what I would do as well. I would be very isolated. So aside from poor health and being lonely, I'd also remove my 80-year-old self's sense of purpose and work. And I think this happens a lot with men. We have retirement as this goal, as this milestone, and people work all their lives chasing it. And then when they get there, they actually lose a sense of purpose and duty in the world and kind of find themselves in a bit of state of limbo, really. And this definitely can be very depressing for a man. I think we place a lot of our self-worth on, even if it's not necessarily a job title or professional status, but just our ability to create, to produce, to serve others. So if I wanted to make myself miserable, I'd take that away too. Now, obviously the purpose of this question isn't to drive yourself into a depressive spiral, it's to reverse engineer this and think, well, if that's what would make me miserable, in the longest of long terms, the biggest of big pictures, what do I do now to make sure that doesn't happen? What do I do now to make sure that when I am 80, I am fit and healthy and happy and surrounded with love and still filled with purpose? And I don't think that sounds like an easy task. I think it sounds like a difficult one. But I suppose the preparation for it can never begin too soon. So let's start with health. You know, if I can't build the habit of eating well and working out and being flexible, that's been a new discovery for me. If I can't build those habits in my 20s, when am I going to build them? It's not going to get easier in my 30s. It's not going to get easier in my 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm not saying people don't transform, but if you build those habits now, they will become a fundamental part of you. Like for me, it's not something I have to negotiate with myself. It's actually very easy. But it wasn't easy when I was in my earlier 20s, because I'm not one of those guys that was always working out. I'm not one of those guys that was always taking care of his diet. In fact, my diet was pretty terrible when I was in my teens and early 20s. So maintaining that strength, that mobility, and doing my best to avoid any preventable illnesses, and I know I say that with irony while smoking a stogie, but that's definitely something to safeguard and to invest in. I mean, I would personally definitely rather be healthy and strong and living very modestly than somebody who's overweight, riddled with health problems, but sitting on a big pile of cash. I'm on this beach right now in Spain. There's a woman down here just sitting by herself. It's 11:05 in the morning on a Wednesday, and she's just chilling out. Now, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what her story is, but I compare that to some of the people that I see in Marbella. If you don't know Marbella, it's like a very wealthy part of Spain, one of really the wealthiest parts of Europe, and you see a lot of flash cars, a lot of very successful people. And it's a very healthy place overall, but you see people that are in not so great shape, and they've traded in health for financial wealth. And looking forward to the long term, that's not a trade-off I want to make. Obviously, I don't want to be eating beans and rice in my 80s, but it's interesting that I didn't pick that out as one of the ways that I would make myself miserable when I was 80. Money didn't really even come into the equation. And I think that's because another currency that will be more valuable than money will be love and family. So I don't know. The friends that I have right now, the people that are my best friends, who knows if we'll still be in touch when I'm in my 80s. I hope we are. But there's also so many people that I'm about to meet and will meet over the coming decades that may be a part of my life at that age. I also think it's important to maintain this attitude of having friends of different ages. Recently, I've started to have friends that are maybe 4 or 5 years younger than me. That's been a new one for me. But I also have friends that are 10, 20, even 30 years older than me. So if you can maintain that age range when you're 80, there's nothing to say you can't have friends that are in their 60s, 50s, and 40s, as long as you can physically keep up with them, of course, If you want to go play golf, I think I'm playing golf today with a guy who's in his 70s. So he's hanging out with somebody who's 27 because he's kept himself in that good physical shape. And then, obviously, the family thing is a big part of it. Now, I don't come from a big family. I'm actually an only child. I have a very small family. I have a great relationship with my parents, but obviously they won't be around when I'm 80. So it's really on me to build that. I think that's one of the reasons why I find it very attractive when a woman has a good relationship with her family. And if she comes from a big family, I really like that because I want those Christmases where the house is too full and it's busy and it's just chaotic with love, and kids running around and, I'm the grandpa sitting, I don't want to say sitting in the chair now, but, getting confused by the board games, falling asleep after lunch. I want to be that figure and I want to feel that love from my family. So that's something to build in the future. I'm 27 now. I'm at that age where it's gone out. I'm at that age where my friends from college and school and all of that, they're starting to actually get married and have children. I don't feel the rush personally. You know, I feel like I'm on my own timeline, and 27 is still young for a man to get married and have children. And having a wife and having children young is not necessarily a prerequisite for having a fulfilling, happy family life when you're older, because divorce can ruin that, bad relationships, dysfunctionality can ruin that, relocation can ruin that. So actually, I'd rather focus on being the kind of man that will be a good father one day, be a good husband one day, and find the right person. And I haven't found that yet in my life. I'm open but not looking. But if I was still saying the same thing when I was 40, then it's clearly time to get a move on and start building that family. But there's plenty of time for that. There's plenty of time for that. And then the final thing is that sense of purpose. Now, Gen Z is not a retirement, it's not a job, you know, in the traditional sense. There's no retirement plan. There's no 401k with a company match. It would be hubris of me to say that I'm still going to be doing the same thing when I'm 80 as I am when I'm 27. But I don't envision a world in which I don't get up in the morning and do some kind of productive work. You know, whether that's writing, whether that's filming videos like this, whether that's playing music. I don't know what it will look like. Maybe I'll be using some technology when I'm 80 that doesn't even exist right now. But I imagine that I'll always be creating something, producing something, serving others in some way. You know, I don't think that's going to be working in an office. I don't think I'm going to be one of those senior people that you see working at Walmart. But, you know, even if I were, I see older people do these jobs, and there's something about waking up in the morning and doing any job, just creating something, producing something, being valuable to people, unlike this fly, please, that makes you feel good, no matter how old you are. So retirement is definitely not a goal that I'm chasing. A goal that I am chasing is getting to the point where I wouldn't need to work, but I always want to work, and I think I'll always have that desire, especially as a creative person. It would be interesting to see what happened if I had no need to make money, but honestly, if you gave me $1 billion right now, I think I'd still be sat on this beach or a beach somewhere. I'd still be smoking a stogie. I'd still be talking to you guys, and that feels really, really good. So I'm very grateful that I'm in a position where I can do that, and I hope that I'm still doing that when I'm 80. So I would love to hear from you guys. Drop me a comment. Let's do 3 things each, 3 things that you would do to make your 80-year-old self miserable. And I'm sure that will get you thinking about how you can reverse engineer that to make sure that you aren't miserable. You actually live a very long, happy, and fulfilled life. Mine will be, you know, health, family/relationships, and purpose/work. I'd be interested to hear what yours are. I hope you enjoy these cigar talks. I intend to keep this series going, and I'll see you on the next one.